Before making a big life choice, a Japanese-inspired way to decide is to start with one core question. Does this align with the kind of person I want to become in the long run? Instead of chasing only quick wins or immediate comfort, the focus shifts to identity, integrity, and long-term character. When decisions are made from this place, it becomes much harder to regret them later, even if the outcome is not perfect. In this mindset, every decision is seen as part of a larger path rather than an isolated event. You are not only deciding what you will get, but who you are training yourself to be. That subtle shift changes how you judge the past. Instead of asking, "Did I win?" you ask, "Was I true to myself?" which is a question you can always grow from. So before your next big decision, pause and ask, what kind of person am I becoming if I choose this? When you evaluate choices through the lens of who you are becoming, regret loses much of its bite, because you know you acted in alignment with your deeper self, not just your momentary impulses. If you want more videos that bring powerful Japanese habits and philosophies into your everyday life, make sure to subscribe now so you don't miss the next rules that can completely change how you relate to regret and decision-making. A powerful Japanese-inspired idea is that time is not truly wasted if it contributed to your inner growth. Even when a job, relationship, or project does not give the result you wanted, it can still refine your character, your clarity, and your skills. When you see life this way, you stop labeling entire years as lost. Instead of asking, "Why did I waste so much time there?" you begin to ask, "What did this season train inside me?" Maybe it taught you boundaries, resilience, patience, or self-respect. These hidden gains are often the real reason why you are now able to make wiser decisions than before, even if that period looked like a mistake from the outside. By reframing past experiences as training rather than pure loss, regret turns into information. You no longer see your past as a graveyard of wrong turns, but as a workshop where you built the tools you need for your next chapter. The story shifts from "I ruined my life" to "I learned what I truly need and want." Ikigai is often described as the intersection of what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. Many decisions feel fine at first, but turn painful over time because they strongly ignore one or more of these dimensions. A path that looks smart on paper can still feel deeply wrong inside if it starves your sense of meaning. For example, a career that pays well but crushes your health or values will often become a source of regret later, even if everyone else admires it. A relationship that looks stable but leaves your true self silenced will also start to feel like a slow betrayal of who you are. When a decision only satisfies the outer world and not your inner world, regret tends to grow with each passing year. An Ikigai-inspired rule is this: before a big decision, check whether it supports at least 2 or 3 of the 4 pillars: love, skill, contribution, and sustainability. The more overlap you have, the more likely it is that your future self will feel at peace with that choice, even if the journey gets messy. In a Japanese-influenced way of thinking, there is deep respect for perseverance, but also quiet wisdom in knowing when to release something. Not all struggles are equal. Some pain is meaningful because it builds strength, loyalty, or mastery. Other pain is empty because it only drains you without teaching or honoring anything important. One simple question helps: is this pain meaningful or empty? Meaningful pain might be the effort of raising a family, mastering a craft, or staying committed to a promise you believe in. Empty pain might be staying in a situation that repeatedly destroys your health, dignity, or purpose, only because you are afraid to change or afraid of what others will say. So the anti-regret rule here is persist where the struggle is shaping you into who you want to be, and let go where the struggle is only eroding you. This way, even if you decide to quit something, you will not look back with shame. You will know you left at the right time, for the right reasons. Wabi-Sabi is the appreciation of beauty in imperfection, incompleteness, and transience. When you apply this to decision-making, you stop searching for the one perfect choice that comes with zero flaws and zero risk. You accept that every option includes some level of inconvenience, limitation, and uncertainty. If you expect perfection, the first sign of difficulty makes you feel you chose wrong, and regret appears immediately. Under a Wabi-Sabi lens, however, those flaws and detours are understood as part of the natural shape of life. A path can be irregular and still be deeply meaningful and beautiful. You don't throw it away just because it has cracks. The Wabi-Sabi rule is, choose the path whose imperfections you are most willing to live with. When you consciously accept those imperfections from the beginning, you don't feel as betrayed later when reality shows up. You knew the cost, and you decided it was worth paying. In many Japanese contexts, saying yes carries the weight of commitment. It is not just a quick response, it is a quiet agreement to be reliable over time. Because of that, people often pause internally before accepting a new task, opportunity, or role, asking themselves whether they truly have the capacity to follow through. This invisible discipline prevents a lot of overcommitting and hidden resentment. Many regrets come from saying yes too fast to jobs, favors, or projects, only to realize later that they crush your schedule, your health, or your priorities. When yes is treated as a promise instead of a reflex, you end up with fewer broken commitments and fewer situations you wish you had avoided. A practical rule you can adopt is to never div an important yes on the spot. Instead, say, let me think about it. Picture your real life with that decision added to it, and only then decide. This simple pause can save you from months or years of regret. One of the most powerful ideas inspired by Japanese thinking is that steady, small steps are more reliable than dramatic bursts of effort. Big regrets often sound like, I never started, I always gave up, or I waited for the perfect moment. The one-step-a-day rule quietly destroys all three of these patterns. When you commit to tiny daily actions, 5 minutes of practice, one email, one honest conversation, you remove the pressure of needing the perfect plan or the ideal circumstances. Progress stops being a fantasy and becomes something you can touch every day. Even if the steps are small, they stack over time into real change. The anti-regret rule is, choose directions and goals that allow for realistic daily movement, not only occasional huge pushes. That way, even if you later change direction, you will not feel like you wasted years frozen in place. You will have a trail of growth behind you. A key mental shift is recognizing the line between what can be influenced and what must be accepted. Many people drain themselves trying to control things like the past, other people's core nature, or the fact that everything changes with time. Japanese-inspired attitudes place more emphasis on adjusting to reality than on fighting it endlessly. Trying to mentally rewrite the past, constantly thinking, I should have done this instead, creates a permanent loop of regret with zero practical impact. Accepting that certain things cannot be undone or controlled releases a huge amount of emotional energy. That freed energy can then be directed toward decisions that still matter now. An anti-regret rule born from this is, act fully where your actions can still make a difference, and emotionally release the areas that are truly beyond your reach. You are not giving up, you are reallocating your strength to the parts of life where it can actually change something. If this idea of focusing on what you can truly influence is resonating with you, make sure to watch one of the related videos suggested next to this one that goes deeper into Japanese views on impermanence and acceptance, so you can connect these rules even more to your own story. Instead of trying to crush the thought, "What if I had chosen differently?" a wiser approach is to allow it, observe it, and then gently transform it. You begin by acknowledging that every decision necessarily closes some doors and opens others. There is no life path without sacrifice. When "what if" appears, most people either drown in guilt or try to block the thought completely. A more balanced technique is to accept the feeling, breathe, and then ask, what can I honor or appreciate in the path I actually lived? This question brings your attention back from fantasy to reality and invites you to find meaning in what did happen, not only in what could have happened. By practicing this, regret turns from an endless loop into a doorway. You use the pain of "what if" not as proof that you ruined everything, but as a reminder of what you value and want to protect in your next decisions.
In many Japanese traditions, depth is preferred over excess. Fewer choices, more dedication. This mindset can greatly reduce regret. When you have too many options, it becomes easy to constantly compare, fantasize about the alternatives, and assume you always picked the wrong one. By intentionally limiting your options in important areas, like career direction, where to live, or which relationships to truly invest in, you reduce the mental noise. Instead of trying to live 5 different lives in your head, you devote yourself more fully to the life you actually chose. That deeper engagement often brings more satisfaction than having infinite open doors. The rule is, for big decisions, don't try to keep every possible path alive. Narrow your options to a small number you can seriously consider. Choose one and then commit. You can't live all the lives you imagine, but you can live one life with clarity and intensity. There is a strong sense of quiet dignity in how many difficult decisions are ideally handled in Japanese culture. Ending something, a job, a partnership, a relationship, is not treated as entertainment, but as a moment that deserves respect. The focus is on minimizing unnecessary harm while still being honest and firm. Regret around hard decisions often comes not just from the choice itself, but from the way it was executed, shouting, ghosting, blaming, or humiliating others. When you approach these turning points with calm, clarity, and responsibility, you may still feel sadness, but you are far less likely to feel ashamed of your behavior. So the anti-regret rule is, when you must cause pain, do it with as much honesty and gentleness as you can. You cannot avoid all hurt in life, but you can avoid acting in ways that will haunt you later. In a Japanese-inspired mindset, regret is not a permanent identity. It is a signal that something in you was neglected. Its purpose is to inform you, not to crush you. The question is not, how can I punish myself enough for this, but what is this regret telling me about what I truly value? When you treat regret as a teacher, you move from self-attack to self-understanding. You notice which boundaries you ignored, which needs you silenced, or which truths you ran from. That knowledge becomes the raw material for your next decisions, so the same pattern does not keep repeating. The rule here is simple but powerful. Never stop at "I regret this." Always continue with "so from now on, I will." If regret does not lead to a new pattern, it becomes nothing more than emotional self-sabotage. You have just walked through 13 Japanese-inspired anti-regret rules, aligning with who you want to be, honoring your version of purpose, accepting imperfection, moving one step a day, focusing on what you can control, choosing fewer paths more deeply, and acting with silent honor.
All of these are lenses you can put over your current life.
But none of this matters if it stays only as theory. The true turning point is always a concrete decision in your real world. So here is the final question of this video. Which single decision, small or big, will you revisit today using one of these rules? Maybe it is someone you need to talk to, something you need to start, or something you finally need to end. If this video helped you see your past and your choices in a new way, subscribe, like, and share it with someone who is stuck in regret right now. One different way of looking at decisions might be exactly what they need to stop being haunted by the past and start designing a future they can be proud of.